The phone calls you're about to hear were never supposed to become famous. Some lasted only a few seconds, some ended in screaming, and some ended in complete silence. But every single one of these calls had one terrifying thing in common. The person on the other end was never seen alive again. And what makes these recordings truly disturbing is that in many cases, nobody knows what actually happened. Phone ringing, static, heavy breathing. Tonight, we're listening to the most terrifying last phone calls ever recorded. And trust me, some of these calls still haunt investigators to this day. Case 1. There's someone outside my house. February 1st, 2:13 a.m. A young woman named Melissa called emergency services from her small home on the edge of town. At first, the dispatcher thought it was just another panic call. But then, Melissa whispered something strange. "There's somebody outside my window." The dispatcher asked if she knew the person. Silence, then a shaky breath. "No, but they've been standing there for almost 10 minutes. Police were immediately dispatched, but the nearest patrol car was over 15 minutes away, and that's when the call changed. You can actually hear it happen in the recording. At first, Melissa sounds nervous, then confused, then terrified. Because according to investigators, the person outside her window suddenly disappeared. The dispatcher tried calming her down, but Melissa kept repeating the same sentence over and over. Where did he go? Then came the sound, a loud creak somewhere inside the house. Melissa froze. The dispatcher asked her what happened, and for several seconds, she didn't answer. Then, quietly, almost whispering, she said, "He's inside." The dispatcher immediately told her to lock herself in a room. You can hear footsteps in the background, slow, heavy, getting closer. Then Melissa suddenly screamed. The line filled with static. Something crashed, and then complete silence. Police arrived 11 minutes later. The front door was still locked. No signs of forced entry, no footprints outside, and Melissa was gone. To this day, she has never been found, but investigators say one detail still keeps them awake at night. During audio enhancement of the call, they discovered another voice in the background, a male voice, very faint, whispering just 3 words. "I found you." Case 2. The elevator call. Most emergency calls sound chaotic, but this one sounds wrong, cold, empty, almost unnatural. In 2017, security received a phone call from a woman trapped inside an office building elevator after midnight. The building was mostly empty. Only janitorial staff remained. The woman identified herself as Sarah. She sounded calm at first, annoyed more than scared. She explained the elevator had suddenly stopped between floors. Maintenance was contacted immediately, but while speaking with security, Sarah suddenly stopped mid-sentence. The operator asked if she was okay. No response. Then Sarah whispered, "There's somebody else in here." Security checked the cameras. The elevator had only one person enter, Sarah, nobody else. The operator assumed stress was making her panic, but Sarah kept talking, quietly, terrified. "He won't look at me." Then another pause. The operator asked what she meant, and Sarah replied with something investigators still cannot explain. "He's standing in the corner, facing the wall." Security tried speaking calmly to her, but then Sarah began crying. Not loud, not hysterical, just soft, terrified crying. Because according to the call, the man slowly turned around, and smiled. The operator asked what he looked like. Sarah answered immediately, "I can't describe his face." Then the line distorted. A loud metallic bang echoed through the elevator. Sarah screamed once. The call disconnected. When maintenance finally opened the elevator 20 minutes later, it was empty. No Sarah, no signs of struggle, nothing. But investigators later recovered one disturbing detail from building surveillance. At exactly 2:41 a.m., the elevator moved, even though power to the system had already been shut off, and it traveled to a floor that doesn't exist on the building blueprint. Case 3. Dad, there's something in the woods. There's something deeply disturbing about hearing fear in a child's voice, especially when that fear sounds real. In October 2008, a father received a late-night call from his 14-year-old son, Tyler. Tyler had gone camping with two friends near a remote forest area. At first, the call seemed normal. Bad signal, laughter in the background. But then Tyler's tone changed completely. "Dad, I think somebody's outside the tent." Branches cracked somewhere nearby. The father assumed it was an animal, but Tyler sounded terrified, because according to him, whatever was outside was walking in circles around the campsite, slowly. The father told Tyler to stay inside the tent and call emergency services. But Tyler kept whispering something strange. "It doesn't sound human." Then came silence. Not normal silence, forest silence. The kind where everything suddenly stops. No insects, no wind, nothing. And then a scream echoed somewhere far away in the woods. One of Tyler's friends started panicking. The call became chaotic, heavy breathing, movement, crying. And then Tyler whispered something investigators never forgot. "Dad, it's watching us." The father kept trying to calm him down, but Tyler suddenly gasped, as if he had just seen something horrifying. Then came the final sentence ever heard from him. "Why is it smiling like that?" The call disconnected. Rescue teams searched the forest all night. The campsite was discovered the next morning. The tent had been ripped open from the inside. Tyler and his friends were gone. No bodies, no footprints, no evidence. Just one abandoned phone lying near the trees, still recording. Police never released the full audio publicly, but according to one investigator, the final seconds contained sounds he described as not something a human should be able to make. Case 4. The woman who called from nowhere. Some emergency calls are disturbing because of what's heard. This one is disturbing because of what wasn't. In 1996, emergency dispatch received a call from a woman crying uncontrollably. She never gave her name, never gave her location, and barely spoke. For almost 30 seconds, all dispatchers could hear was breathing. Then finally, she whispered, "He said I wasn't supposed to tell anyone." The dispatcher tried tracing the call. Nothing. No registered line, no active location, which was nearly impossible, even at the time. The woman sounded terrified, as if somebody was standing beside her, listening. Then she said something truly chilling. "If I hang up, he'll know." The dispatcher begged her to stay on the line, and for several minutes, the woman described being trapped inside a room she'd never seen before. No windows, concrete walls, a single light above her, and somewhere nearby, water dripping. Dispatchers attempted to keep her talking long enough to trace the signal, but suddenly, another voice entered the call. Deep, calm, male, very close to the phone. He said only this: "You already did." Then the line disconnected forever. No trace of the caller was ever identified, and the case remains officially unsolved. But years later, a retired dispatcher admitted something horrifying during an interview. She said the call still affected her decades later because of one specific detail. In the background of the recording, behind the crying, you can hear multiple other voices, whispering, as if other people were inside the room too. Final case: the call that shouldn't exist. Most recordings can eventually be explained. Fear, panic, mental breakdowns. But this final phone call doesn't fit any explanation. In 2001, a voicemail was discovered on an old answering machine after a man named Daniel Harper disappeared. The message was time-stamped 3:17 a.m. The strange part? Investigators confirmed Daniel's phone battery had died hours earlier. Yet somehow, the voicemail was still recorded. At first, the message sounds normal: static, breathing, footsteps. Then Daniel begins speaking, his voice trembling. "I don't think this is a person." What follows next is difficult to explain. Daniel repeatedly describes seeing someone standing beside the road during a long nighttime drive. Except, according to him, the figure kept appearing farther ahead every few miles, waiting, watching, smiling. Daniel sounded exhausted, terrified, confused. Then suddenly, his voice changed, lower, almost distant, and he whispered, "It's inside the car." A loud screech filled the voicemail, metal twisting, glass breaking. Then complete silence for nearly 20 seconds. But investigators say the final part of the voicemail is what truly disturbed them. Because very faintly, after the crash, another voice can supposedly be heard near the phone. Not Daniel's, something else, whispering, "Still here." Daniel's car was later found abandoned on an empty highway, driver's door open, phone missing, no blood, no body, no answers. And to this day, nobody knows what happened during those final moments. Some people believe these calls captured real crimes. Others believe they recorded something far stranger. But maybe the most terrifying part is knowing these were real people, real fear, real final moments. And somewhere out there, there are probably recordings even darker than these, locked away in evidence rooms, never released to the public, waiting, silent, forgotten, until somebody presses play again. Phone line disconnect tone. Static. End.